Usually it's not ready until this pops up. There we go. There we go. So it's funny. All right, we are live. Yes. Hi. All right. You can set up your watch party or whatever you want to do. Just make sure that it's muted. Otherwise, it'll come through here. Timber. All right, let's set that up like that.
I can't find it. I know that's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. For those that are able to make it, she's trying to set up a watch party for those of you who are just on hers. There we go.
Turn that down.
There we go. Okay. There we go. It's fine.
Share. Okay. I think.
Yeah.
I have a watch party going on.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for joining us. Hello.
I feel like the Carol Baskin intro.
Right.
Hello, you beautiful person.
Carol Baskin.
No, we're not going to talk about Carol Baskin.
No. So, for everybody that is just kind of getting on, hi, Connie. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
She finally agreed to appear on my live stream.
Elusive.
She is very self-conscious, I say.
No, I'm not political, and I don't know what to say. I'm better live than recorded.
Oh,
so that's
well, at least there's that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You at least can just, be yourself.
Tim, Ben.
Yay.
Hi. I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah, sometimes the watch parties are independent, but if anybody, has any questions that they would like us to answer, she has her watch party set up over there so that she can view those, and we have the regular feed here. We're really just, talking about life, right? Regular old boring life that you still have to do things, and you still have to deal with your kids being home, and many of us can't go out and go to work or do anything. That's just unfortunately the way it is. I'm really hoping that this won't last too much longer, but it probably will.
I think
unfortunately,
it's just a chance for people to talk to people and see people that aren't the same people you've been in the house with for I don't even know how long.
Right,
so.
Right. And this will give people a good opportunity to see just who we are, as people, instead of that political candidate that you might read about in the paper, or you might see a video of them, but you don't really know the person. This is why I do this every night at 7 p.m. I get on here. You can ask me anything you want.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
I think I might be the only Republican wife, I think. No. Delano has a wife. And I think that's it. So
yeah, I don't think any of the other candidates are married. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about them, but there's been several requests for Liz to appear and kind of say hi to everybody.
Okay, I said hi. Can I leave?
No, you can't go anywhere. It's really this isn't about anything in particular. It's just us being here and giving you a chance to ask questions if you like, or we're gonna just be ourselves.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Chuck. Hey, Paul. Thanks for joining us. Everybody that's watching, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. For those of you who look, Chucky P. For those of you who aren't aware, I was featured on a podcast last night called Patriots in Tune. That was pretty awesome. It was kind of long. I put the link to that. I'm gonna put it out again today, though, for those of you who'd like to watch it. It was over an hour, but this I figured we
long but good.
Yeah,
it really was.
Yeah, I had a good time. It was enjoyable. Hi, Jamie.
Jamie, hi. Sorry, I haven't like talked to her in a long time.
No, that's fine. Hi. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
She's known me since I was like little, not little, but like little.
Yeah. So. Not like little.
Not like baby little, but like that annoying little age all the way till now. So she's an old friend.
Oh, fair enough. So we're just thank you. Doug said great interview. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think it went really well. Again, it's just kicking back and talking about what you want to talk about, or as my entire family says, what y'all want to talk about.
Hey, Diana.
Because yes, I'm from Louisiana, and as Liz will attest, anytime I get around my family, my accent starts to creep back in.
We went to Homa a long time ago,
yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Oh my gosh, like 2016.
Yeah.
Before I started a job that led me into my current job, and I think we were down there for I don't know. No, you were around your aunt for 10 minutes, and then I was like, "What? Huh? What?" And this southern, it's not a southern drawl, but this Louisiana accent came out and stuck for a week after we came back, and I'm like, "What? So it's cool. I like accents, and then I'll start picking it up. But once he gets around his relatives from down there, it's a total Cajun flip. So, thanks, Doug.
Yeah. Doug said it's nice to see a candidate have their wife on. It shows family is important. Yes.
And Chuck Pullen for governor.
Oh, Chuck Pullen for governor. Yeah, absolutely. Chuck has a lot of really good ideas. I could see that. Yeah, let me be clear. Family is paramount to me. I would never have ran for office without their full support and backing. I talked to her. I talked to my kids.
Talked to my dad and my mom.
Yeah. I talked to my in-laws. Talked to everyone just to make sure that they were on board, because anyone who knows, the political environment today knows that if you run as a Republican, you're going to get attacked. That's just the way it is. I wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on that. But we were talking about doing this, and she wanted to make sure that she got her. Where did they see your cup?
Oh no, hold on.
All right, tell them about the cup.
Okay, it's not just because it's a Yeti. That's not the point.
Yeah.
It is my company cup. Whoa, there it is.
Back it up just a little, the other way. It's backwards.
Everything's backwards. Features, case management, which is the best company to work for. And I love my boss. And I'm grateful for my company because they're so awesome. I work with awesome coworkers, awesome boss. So I just wanted to give a shout out. I'm drinking water, so.
Yeah.
But it is, I am blessed to be able to work from home. So having the kids home all the time is different, because normally it's they go to school and then I'm I have 6 hours to get work done, and now it's they don't leave. So I think a lot of us are seeing that struggle in working from home. So for me and my supervisor, who has little kids that work from home, ours are older, just if you are working from home, find a quiet area away from everyone that you can make your own, and I turned a little alcove in our bedroom to my office, and just try to get away for a few hours to work from home. That's probably the easiest suggestion I have.
Yeah, Jamie.
What's for supper?
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, it kind of threw the schedule off because she's not usually, on camera with us. She's usually just serving dinner about now, but she wanted to make sure that she was presentable and had to spend some time getting ready. So
yesterday I made pheasants.
Yeah.
For the first time ever, and
ever.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
So tonight, I don't know. McDonald's maybe.
Maybe. No. My best friend Jim actually gave us some pheasant breasts when he had went hunting, and it was good. I enjoyed it. Going back a little bit, Jamie said, "I just tuned in. Tell me your view on right to work."
Oh.
Okay, that's a really good question. I am against right to work legislation, especially in its current form. It is unfair to the unions for a very simple reason, and that is you've always been able to choose whether to be a part of the union, right? That's a fact. You can choose to not be part of the union, but the way right to work is set up, and I'll get into my other issues against it, but the way it's set up, you still have to be represented by the union, even if you never paid union dues. You can opt out of paying union dues, but they still have to represent you. That is inherently wrong. The other issue that I have is it's able to be abused, and has been in the case of Indiana State Prison. They can fire you for no reason whatsoever, and then you can't collect unemployment. I have experienced this personally. It's not good. And one thing that disturbs me is some of the people running for first district don't have a clear understanding of right to work and what it says, what it lays out. I urge you all to check into people, do your research, learn about the candidates and where they stand on different issues. I've always been very clear. I'm against right to work legislation because of the way that it's lined up or laid out, and I can't support it. I can't support it in its current form, and unless it was greatly changed to allow unions. Here's the thing: if you don't want to be represented by a union, that's fine. You don't have to be, but the union shouldn't have to step in to defend you if something comes up. That's ridiculous. It just is.
Okay. Paul, number one, you always make me hungry, so thanks a lot with the dinner because I haven't had it yet. So he's having beef stew with mashed potatoes. He always makes these posts. It always makes me hungry. So grr. But if you represent as anything but a baby killing Democrat, you'll be attacked, and that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Me and him, pro-life. There are so many options besides abortion being the first option. We need to create a situation where it should be the last thought, not the first thought. And how we can do that is open for debate and so many issues. And but unfortunately, that's true. If you have a belief nowadays that's different from someone else's, you are just attacked, and it's wrong. We can have different opinions. I have friends who have different religions, different political beliefs, different orientations. That should not matter who you're friends with. If someone has a different opinion, great. They have a different opinion. It shouldn't be a reason to attack you for it. So unfortunately, yeah, if you're pro-life, you are attacked. If you are, a feminist who believes that a woman should be able to stay at home mom or work, well, you're attacked for being a stay-at-home mom. It's an environment that so many people are even just afraid to share their feelings because they're afraid of getting attacked. Hi, Ashley. Hey, hi, Manuel. Hi, Chuck. Hi, Bobby. Hi, Jesse. Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
I got some of my awesome coworkers.
There you go. Thanks for joining. You missed the shout out.
Yeah, I totally look. I totally was like, trying to figure this thing out, but I got our Futures Club, and I said that Futures has awesome people, and it's awesome to work for because we are, and they do. So.
Yeah. The government on any level has no power to tell any private corporation what members can do or should. Paul said that. You're absolutely right, Paul, and it's one reason why I'm not in favor of right to work is because it forces certain things on companies. And here's the thing: you can get fired, right? People get fired every day. But if you're terminated for a policy that's not being uniform across the organization or company, then you should collect unemployment. The case in Indiana State Prison was they decided whose doctor's notes they would or would not take. They would take, let's say, Bob's doctor's note, right? Bob, that was fine. But Joe, his doctor's note, no. Sorry, we're not taking your doctor's note. You're terminated, right? That's my issue with right to work. The right to work legislation, at will employer, and all of that stuff. There's a reason that we set up unemployment, And that's the reason why I do not support right to work at all. I think that conversations can be had about ways to ensure that the legislation maybe can be rewritten. I'm always open to conversations about things. That's I feel one of the things that makes me a good choice for a representative is I'm willing to sit down with anyone, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, regardless of your belief system, and talk about what would be best for the region. I don't pretend to have all of the answers. I don't pretend to know everything. Anyone that claims they have all the answers or knows everything is a liar. I mean, that's just the way it is. We can always learn more. We can always do better. Uh, so yeah, Paul said that's a massive issue with right to work. It is. It is.
Hi,
Uh,
Daryl. Hi, cousin. Hi, Manuel. Again, we moved again, so
okay,
got
well,
some family on.
yeah, welcome. Manuel had said you're labeled an evil person for having a difference of opinion. Sad. Absolutely. Oh,
Oh,
Sullivan.
hi, Sullivan.
Hi.
That's why it's so important, one, to vote in the primary,
Mhm.
because the primary, and I'm not a sports person, so I'll probably get this wrong. It's kind of like think of that college basketball where it's this team versus this team, and this team proceeds all the way to the final game. We have 6 Republicans and like I don't know 150 Democrats. There's a lot. There's a lot.
There's a lot, yeah.
And look at all of them. All of 14, 100 is the same.
Right.
Who do you align with? I think it should be him, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Then go on the primary and vote for that person, because that is how your person will hopefully get to the general election, which is the one-on-one, you know, for example, Trump, Biden, you got to vote in the primary to give your give your person a chance to get to that general election. Then go out there. This is not the time I think that people should be asking for donations in primary season, which is a whole other story. But there's a lot of people right now that are hurting and that are going without and that are looking at an uncertain future. If you want to donate something to your candidate, donate your voice, donate your time, donate a skill. Word of mouth. This is the strangest election I think we've ever had.
Yeah, at least in recent history.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're all here.
Very different this time.
So share. Talk about your person, whether it be Dion or whoever else.
Yeah, whoever you support. But I urge everyone to do your research, look into the candidates. There are some people that might appear, and this is true for both sides. I'm not strictly saying Republican. There are people who may appear to align with your views, but look and make sure that they've always said that. Look and make sure that they're not a flip-flopper or someone who just says what people want to hear. I know that out of the people that were on stage at the FOP debate, 2 of my Republican colleagues said that they were for right-to-work legislation. Keep that in mind. I understand from a business owner's perspective why they might be in favor of right to work, but there are such incredible issues with the legislation, the way that it's written. You have to look into their stance on so many things, and then like Liz said, donate your time if you have it. Share the message. Look, every candidate needs money. I would love to have thousands of dollars right now to spend on digital advertising and spreading the word on social media, ads and this and that. But realistically speaking, there are people who don't have jobs right now. There are people who don't know how they're going to feed their families. I feel very, very scummy asking for money. That's just the way it is. And people know if you have extra money, hey, we all appreciate it, whatever candidate you decide to back. But I just don't feel good, constantly pushing, hey, donate to my campaign. Hey, donate to my campaign. Like she said, there are other ways to greatly help. And many of you, I want to say, many of you have done that. You're sharing my messages. You're sharing my posts. And I think that that is absolutely critical and one of the very best things that you can do for a candidate.
Just and there's also websites, and I can put the link up on his page, and I can share it on my personal page. It's going to apply more when we have our Democrat and our Republican candidates for president, and it is a website that gives you this quiz. I love quizzes, but it gives you this quiz, and you can be as superficial or as in-depth as you want about so many issues, from environment to healthcare to everything. You answer it. If you answer it honestly, and you don't have to tell anyone your answers because it's just you in the quiz, it will show you most align with candidate A. Here's where you agree. Here's where you disagree. And it's eye-opening because sometimes you get someone you didn't expect. But we'll answer questions as we go, but I don't want this to all be political.
Yeah, it's not just political. It's just
I've been in the
us hanging
house
out.
for a few weeks, and now
she's getting realistically, she's getting a little tired of hearing about politics, and I get it. Even though I'm running for office, and she understands that. Hearing me talk about, this legislation or that legislation, just like with her fascination with quizzes and her saying, hey, I want to give you a quiz, right?
Some of them are important. Like, if you would be a Kill Bill character, which one would you be? Some of those are really important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely critical. Absolutely critical.
Jessie has a question.
Okay.
She has an education question with this quarantine. Okay.
Yeah, by all means. Probably.
I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
I know that on Facebook there are teachers out there that are willing to help kids and parents with homework. I'm in serious trouble if my 17-year-old comes to me and says, hey, I have a geometry question, because I'm going to go
physics.
No,
he's in physics now. But.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So Facebook and social media are great resources for finding people who can help. But okay, Jessie's question. Are kids with IEPs? Obviously now the kids are not getting the services they need. Any ideas with that? Well,
great question.
Jessie, we both know, because Jessie is one of my awesome coworkers.
Yeah.
There is a special education presentation that we just got the email about, and I will include the link for that, dealing with the topic of that. How do you get special education when your kids are at home? I just said on my ankle bone and it hurt. I will attach that to his congressional page as well as my personal Facebook page when that is. So parents who do have those issues, we're lucky enough that we don't, but other people do.
Yeah, and so it's absolutely important that people like that, children like that, don't get overlooked because of the special circumstances that we find ourselves in. A lot of times, the general public doesn't think about children with IEPs, individual education plans, right? See, I try. It's critical that we share the resources for those people so that they know that there is help out there for children that are in the unique circumstances like that. A lot of times people will share posts about, the teachers that are there to help and resources for the mainstream children, but IEP gets tossed to the side in situations like that. So great question.
Of posts, I usually put public on my Facebook page. Everything else is usually just friends. I've also put on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, links to virtual field trips. I even have a link where you can take college classes from Ivy League schools for free. So, something to get your mind out of where we're at right now, which can be looking at the same four walls. I haven't told him, but I've been like, maybe if I spray paint the walls, they'll look different than they do now.
Yeah, she's mentioned some very, very weird ideas. I'm like, okay, just
anyway,
calm down.
So there are resources out there for that. Yeah, Jessie says she has 2 with IEPs and they're struggling with e-learning.
E-learning is not for everybody.
Right.
Our middle son used to actually go to school virtually, and he had a heck of a time with it. He's really, really smart, but But for some reason, whether it was distraction, whether it was an inability to connect on a personal level with the instructor because they weren't there, there are many things that just don't translate. And sometimes kids have a problem utilizing e-learning to the best of their abilities for whatever reason, and it's nothing wrong with them. It's not their fault. It just is. It's just like, many people will see the same meme or show or whatever and get a completely different reaction out of it, a completely different interpretation. That's why it's so important for the people who have like IEPs or other
and
changes,
I know
less mainstream education.
I know
options.
Jesse will agree with me, so it's kind of like a me and Jesse thing. That's part of our job. What we do as Medicaid waiver case managers is we are the point of contact. We're the source for resources for families. So if you happen to know one online or in real life, everyone, if you have a question, you can always message me. We may know of state resources, state webinars, things like that we can get information for you. I saw Paul asked a question. Reardon cough.
Yeah, no. Okay. Well, he had said also we can't keep it a taboo topic. I think that's when we were talking about politics. Yeah, of course. True. Obviously, I'm running for political office, so I'm going to be meshed into that. I'm always open to questions and whatnot. I'm always willing to answer anything if you have a specific question. But she gets a little tired. I was going through, for example, the CARES Act, right, and reading off where all this money's going, and there's 25 million to here and 10 million for there, and 15 billion for this, and 365 billion for that, and I could see her over there just kind of
I had done the math.
Rolling her eyes.
No, I did the math earlier.
No, I know you did.
Because I saw that and I was like, wait a minute. We should have as much money going to the people who need it and not to different organizations. So I actually did all the math, and then I actually figured out, because I was bored, that if we doubled the cost of the plan, which just sounds a lot of money because it is, we took the median American income for 6 months, it would be double, because they're already talking about making another.
Yeah, they're already planning to do a whole nother one.
If we just doubled it and it would even be less, because I didn't take into account taxpayers. I just took Americans over the age of 18. Yeah. You'd give them the median American income for 6 months. We're already going into debt. We're already talking about another huge plan. Give everyone a 6-month cushion, and if you are working, take that 6-month cushion, and it's up to us to keep small businesses going and grocery stores and whatnot. 6 months of the median income is actually more than some people make, and it would give everyone a 6-month cushion.
Yeah, what was the median income like?
Like $900 a week. I mean, it was.
What was it, like 48,000?
Something like that. It was more than some people make, and not as much as some people do.
Right, obviously.
But even having. Because people are like, oh, you should have a savings. And a lot of us live paycheck to paycheck. But if we had 6 months of income, that could get so many people through. And I see so many kids one of my friends, Tiffany, made this post on Facebook talking about kids being scared and what they're scared of during this time. And some kids are like, I have never been home alone for so long. I'm afraid we're going to run out of food. And I think it's important that we talk about it age appropriately, sometimes not in front of the kids, which can be hard. For me, I'm one of those people, if it's on my mind, it's out my mouth. Yeah.
Hold on, I just want to interject real quick. Mr. Rogers actually had a really good show. Mr. Rogers is awesome anyway, but with the Kennedy assassination, remember? And he's like, to the little kids out there, you're seeing all kinds of things on the news, and I think it's really important that we take the time to tell our children the world is not going to end.
Look for the helpers. There will always be helpers, is what he said his mom told him. In any catastrophe, whether it be hurricane, tornado, there will always be people that want to help.
Yeah,
and we
and focus
see that.
on them. Mm-hmm.
And I think for us as a country, it's something completely different because we're used to, oh, Tennessee got hit with something, everybody rushes in
Mm-hmm.
to help.
Right.
Well,
Right.
that makes things worse. I have heard so many stories about what this is, but regardless of what it is, there are people out there right now that are hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can only help by donating money or blood or just offering to be a shoulder for people to talk to and lean on, that's how we can help. We may not be able to physically rush out and help them,
Mm-hmm.
but we can help them by just being there and being willing to talk to them. Jesse said something about the VA care in Indiana and how VA care is horrible. We're very lucky, and I will say this about Trump. Trump made it to where if you can't get into the VA in your town or the closest VA, you can actually go to a hospital or a private doctor and see them and use VA funds. I personally think that if you sign that check when you enlisted up to and including your life for this country, you should be our country's top priority, if not number one, number 5. There is no reason why we should have servicemen that come back and are sick, mental health, physical health, and we just toss them to the side. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, look, I've talked about this before. The way that our veterans have been treated under many administrations leading up to now, going back to Vietnam and protesters spitting on these brave young men when they came home. I did not serve. I've said that before. I tried to join. I couldn't. It is what it is. But I have many, many family members who serve this country honorably. And I have the utmost respect for those who have served this country. It is an absolute tragedy the way that our veterans have been treated. 22 a day. Suicides is unconscionable. The Veterans Administration can be improved in so many ways. First of all, let's look at the billions and billions of dollars that are handed to defense contractors. You know, people talk about, oh, I support our troops, right? Which is why, you know, I'm voting for this bill for, you know, $600 something billion for our national defense budget. It's okay to support the troops and still say, I don't think defense contractors should be pocketing billions of dollars of our money. Let's take some of that money from them. I'm all for our troops having the best and being trained the best, but let's put it into our troops, not the defense contractors. Let's take care of their medical. Let's expand the VA in such a way that, first of all, Trump has introduced accountability, which is huge, absolutely huge. And that's one thing that I commend him for. It has been it's way overdue. The fact that you can have somebody who couldn't be fired for doing a horrible job is ridiculous in and of itself. But there's so much more that we can do for our veterans. We need to have more programs, better funding, more oversight from, I would say, a committee that is predominantly veteran.
Yeah.
I would like to see
It's also hard to try to regulate healthcare if you've never worked in healthcare, if you've never been in that environment, whether you're a doctor or a nurse or, you know, if you haven't been on the front lines, if you haven't worked in a hospital, how could you even proceed to tell a doctor how to do their job? Or like simple ways, you know, to change the VA. Veterans would be, if they're not on the committee, they should be the first person that they talk to. Now Paul's asking a bunch of questions. He always asks questions.
He does.
Talking about earthquakes and tornadoes. This is crazy. I mean, we've heard people about, oh, it's the end of the world. No, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I've heard crazy conspiracies that, you know, earthquakes are tunnel systems being blown up. I don't know. No one knows.
I don't know.
There's only one person that knows, and that's the big guy upstairs. I just think that.
Person, though. Do you think God's a person? I don't think God's a person. God's a force.
It's hard to turn a force into to understand that in your head. So you turn it into a person. So anyway, God's the only person that knows, or only one that knows what all this means. I've heard, Yellowstone's about to blow. Well, then there's something we're going to do.
Look, the bottom line is there's a lot of stuff going on with this COVID and the media frenzy over it.
And everyone's like heightened. Everyone's I don't know what this means. So this is the end of the world. Well, this is going on, this is going on. I will say earthquakes happen every day around the world.
Yeah.
Tornadoes. I live in Northwest Indiana. Every year is tornado season.
Yeah.
They might be connected. They just might be. This is the time of year that this is all going on. Yeah. There's no way to know.
All right. There's a lot of things that are going on. I mean, if you don't know yet, the CBS, they showed footage of allegedly a hospital in New York that was actually a hospital in Italy, according to Sky News. Now, they claim it was an editing error in this time of heightened awareness and fear that they have cultivated. I think that that's inexcusable. That's absolutely inexcusable. And it's why I urge people, and I always have, do your own research, look into things, see what's really going on. But be careful of sharing misinformation. A lot of us want to believe things so badly that things are happening or going to be happening that we might jump onto the bandwagon of something that we don't have any evidence for. And especially as somebody running for Congress, I have to be really, really careful about that. There have been many things that I've seen, and I might share things with people privately, but my account, I try very, very hard to only share things that I've looked into myself and can confirm. I do know that there are a lot of things going on right now that the media is not telling us. There are tragedies happening across the world. There are empty hospitals being filmed. Is it because there's no one there? Is it because people are behind closed doors? We don't know. And I'm not urging anyone to run down to your local hospital and film them. But there are people that are sharing videos and information. And I think that that's important because, video or it didn't happen, right? That's the kind of the mantra out there now, is because it's so easy to fake photos with technology now that pictures really don't do things justice. And unfortunately, even video with green screen technology and all of that, it's really hard not to be taken in by a well-crafted fake. I actually just saw a video of these killer robots, right? War robots. And the whole thing was green screen. It was actually a guy, right? But looking at it, you're like, wow, are we that far along? And I forget the name of the channel, but I showed it to you. Yeah. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, you showed me a lot of stuff. Paul said Pete V. So I'm going to assume it's Pete Visclosky. Yeah. I'm going to touch on, he mentioned Reardon. I saw a post, I guess her husband put up in a group talking about how she has experience that no one has. Okay. She is a state rep.
Right.
So yeah, she has experience as a state rep that nobody else has. But I haven't seen anything other than, because I don't know. I didn't follow her career. I didn't follow her voting record. I want to see what those bills were, which bill she wrote, which bill she passed, which bill she voted on, before I can say her experience matches what I want in a representative.
Unfortunately, she's very, pro-abortion,
But I think that should be transparent. If you're going to say, I have experience voting on bills, then say, here's the bills I voted on.
Yeah.
And Pete Visclosky, I remember him.
He's also pro-Green New Deal.
And I have a problem with that. Pete Visclosky, I remember him from being a little kid in elementary school, and he came to our school, I think, at least once a year to talk to us. I think he did a good job doing that. I kind of tuned out for a while. From like 2000 to just recently, I was doing my own thing, not really paying attention to politics, because some people, sometimes in life, all you can worry about is what is on your plate right in front of you, and government, politics, whatever. I'm more concerned with feeding my kid, paying my bills. I know he fought for the steel mills, and as a daughter, granddaughter, niece of steel mill workers, sister of a current electrician, my brother's currently an electrician at, I'm so old school, I say Inland and LTV, and those don't exist anymore. Right. Oh, no, I think he's U.S. Steel. I want someone who's going to fight for the steel mills, and Pete did. I don't know how well towards the end, but he it was a priority. So he was leaving.
Here's the thing. He fought for the unions. He marched with the unions. He was very pro-union, which, for what it's worth, so am I. I am extremely pro-union to the extent that everyone should have the right to belong to a union or not. You have that choice. I don't agree with businesses that, may force you if you want to, like Paul had mentioned earlier. Pepsi makes it to where if you don't join the union, you don't have a job. I don't agree with that. But as a company, but the end result was the steel mills were still shutting down, still laying people off, regardless of how much he did or did not fight for them, supposedly. It took Donald Trump coming into office and instituting the tariffs to assist the steel mills. And I've talked about this before. There's good and bad to the tariffs, but we had to do something. We had these companies dumping low quality steel into our market and forcing many places to shut their doors because the steel was dirt cheap. It was garbage, but it was dirt cheap. I've seen.
My dad joined. My dad. And so did Megan. So did Mary Claire and Mandy. So hi guys.
Welcome.
I know that I can tell you this. If he gets elected and he does anything to damage the steel mills, which, I mean, not only just the employees, but we all would feel it. We all felt it.
Yeah.
We all felt it 10, 15 years ago when LTV went bankrupt.
Yeah.
He might as well just stay in Washington because it wouldn't be safe for him to come home.
Yeah.
The steel mill and unions and tradesmen, they're the lifeblood of this area, and without them, all of us who are dependent on them, we're in trouble.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people. That's what a lot of people don't understand about the steel mills themselves is the steel workers are only a tiny part of everything that it's connected to. You've got supply chains, you've got many things that go into the mill, but you've got the steel that comes out, and that provides jobs for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans, across the country.
Our friends are there right now working, and I can't imagine telling them, oh, you're not going to have a job or we're going to do something. And that's why it floored me that, and it did, but it didn't, that they backed Mervyn, because as my dad worked there in insurance, mill insurance was, as long as you went to the Hammond Clinic, and this is going to make me sound really old and date me, as long as you went to the Hammond Clinic, which had a doctor for everything, you had good insurance. I don't think there was ever an issue of getting me healthcare, from glasses to pediatrics to medicine.
Yeah.
Medicare for all, which is what Mervyn backs, which is a whole other topic for a whole other day that isn't now.
Yeah.
Takes away their mill insurance.
Yeah.
Then raises taxes. So the money that you're making working a really dangerous job, putting your safety on the line every day, you're losing money, you lost your mill insurance, then it's a trickle down. Then why would people continue to work there? So then the steel mill gets impacted, then the district gets impacted. Should everyone have health insurance? Should everyone have access to health insurance? Absolutely. Is Medicare for all the right way? Look at the VA. Look at the complications that come even from Medicaid, which is Medicaid's far superior to Medicare. But there are still, you didn't turn in a piece of paper that you don't have benefits. There's, when you bring the government into your life, if we don't want the government to have a say over our own bodies, why would we give them health care over our whole bodies?
Yeah.
There's an argument, I don't want the government to tell me what kind of birth control I could have, if I can have an abortion or not. So then why do you want to give the government your health care?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to give them one specific body part, why do you want to give them all of it and your kids? And so it just,
I mean, I've talked about my ideas for healthcare before. They're all out there, but it just comes down to there's a way that we can have universal healthcare for everyone without making it a single payer, without bankrupting the normal American. Look, I will be the first to admit, doctor's visits are expensive, prescriptions are expensive, any procedures, all that stuff's expensive. And the average American is getting shafted on insurance and healthcare. I want to change that. I want to fix that. I don't think Medicare for all is the way to do that. Medicare in and of itself has its own issues. I would like to see Medicare made better. I don't think that Medicare for all is the solution, but I can understand. I can understand the desire. I can understand looking at Medicare for all. That sounds like a good idea. I can see why people are taken with it.
My dad asked the question, support Planned Parenthood, yes or no?
No.
No.
No. I flat out, number one, our tax dollars should not go to an abortion factory. The services that they provide for women that are not abortion related, because they do exist. People want to deny that. No, they do provide other services, but the primary focus and function of Planned Parenthood is an abortion factory. They don't provide other options. They don't tell you about other alternatives when you go in pregnant. The first and only thing they seem to tell you, I'm not a woman, I haven't been to Planned Parenthood, at least been seen as a patient. I've passed by them. I have stories from people, I've seen documentaries on it. It seems to be their focus. You come in, oh, well, that's okay, you can have an abortion. I am wholeheartedly against abortion. I think it's murder. If microbes are life, then a fertilized egg is life. A fetus just means baby.
Offspring.
Yeah, human infant, unborn, right? Unborn baby. That's what a fetus is, which is life. But I believe that in order to completely remove the need for a place like Planned Parenthood, we need to provide education for other alternatives. That's one thing that's lacking. We need to talk to our youth, because many, especially single mothers that end up pregnant, don't know what their options are. They don't know that there are people out there that are willing to pay their expenses in order to carry the baby so that they can, adopt that child. We need to loosen some of the restrictions on abortion. There are those that believe that abortion is necessary. I'm not in that group. I think it's murder, but that's my opinion. The law is the law, the way it is. Personally, I would like to see it more on a state level. I'd like to see the federal government out of just about everything. Personally, I think the vast majority of things could be handled on a state level, and should be. I'd like to see many more things, taken care of on a state level. But
hi, Michael. Hi, Carrie, and hi, Rebecca.
Yeah, thanks for joining, though. Those of you that are here.
So I would like to see comments, not just politics. So if anyone has any questions or anything they want to talk about, this is a chance to come together and talk to people that aren't the same faces that you see every day. I went out today and I had to go check on my mom because she doesn't live with us. She lives in the town over, and people were having a hard time getting a hold of her. She's never been good about giving out her cell phone, but her sister calls me and is like, you need to go check on your mom. So gotta go. And when, car to home, home to car, but then went to Meyer because I had to get something. I was like, oh, people colors, not my walls. So I want to give people a chance to get to know us, not
Yeah.
really me. I'm sort of in the background, but Dion,
No, but
these
you're
are
you're part of it too, though. I mean, because that's one of the things I'd say that kind of separates me in the field of candidates is someone mentioned earlier that family is important. Family is very, very important now more than ever. I mean, aside from the fact that many people are now forced to interact with their families, some people might not be too happy about that, but that's the way it is. We have to look at how can you take care of a region, for example, and I'm not talking about as a congressman in general, but our politicians, right? All positions. How can you take care of a community or a district unless you treat it as family? And how can you treat it as family if you aren't used to being a patriarchal figure, for example, or a matriarchal for those females running? And that's one thing that I've clarified in the past, but I'll say it again: men and women are completely equal, but very different. We are two sides of a symbiosis, right? Uh,
what I would like to see. I've seen it on Facebook, and I think it's a fantastic idea. Is people are doing one of two things. One, putting teddy bears in their window so kids can, get the kids out of the house, put them in your car, drive around and count the teddy bears in the window. I think that's a great way to support your community and each other without having to interact. Well, it's hearts too. See, you jumped in. I was about to say it, but then you jumped ahead of me.
I know, I ruined everything.
Hearts. My supervisor and her daughter put in rainbow colored hearts in a cloud, and it just looks so friendly and warm and supportive. And some of us are still essential workers. I'm an essential worker. I work. I'm part of the Medicaid system, so I'm still considered an essential worker, and so is my 17-year-old. He works at McDonald's, which some people are like, that's not essential. But when we have things like panic buying, where everyone's buying up everything they see, if you have to feed your kids, McDonald's is open. And unfortunately, sometimes that's the situation that it is. He takes his job seriously because he is feeding people that don't always have access to food through money or the grocery store. But you see, just
take money to go to McDonald's.
Yeah, but if you go to the grocery store and there's no meat and there's no milk and there's no toilet paper, and sometimes getting the kids into the car and just going somewhere.
Yeah, look, that's something else that I would like to state. Indiana, we're less hard hit than some other areas, so it's not as restrictive. This whole shelter in place thing, Indiana DNR has been very clear. You are still allowed to go to state parks, just maintain social distancing. I will say that the gun ranges are closed, which I am very, very upset about, but that's a topic for a different rant. The state parks are open. Go to your local, you can walk around the block. You can go outside. You can, it's interaction that they're talking about. Like, you don't need to take the whole family to the grocery store because technically you can put them at risk. But there's nothing wrong with getting in your car and going to a park or going to a national preserve and getting out, enjoying nature. Sunlight is one of the best things for your body.
Yeah. But decorate your windows with hearts or stars or something. So, the parents or the adults who just want to go for a drive have something to look at other than the empty streets.
Yeah. Put things in your window to let people know that you're part of the community, even if it's, like a multicolored heart or a teddy bear
or if you support police. In Blue Line, you could do all blue hearts. You could do correctional officers. Hey, I worked at Indiana State Prison from 2003 to 2009. And do gray or silver hearts. Firemen do red hearts. Do all the first responders hearts.
Yeah.
So when they're driving to work, because their jobs don't stop, they see this love, they see this support, and it can make going into work when you don't know when you're coming home from it that much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Correctional officers, so many people are like, oh, that's not really law enforcement. Yeah, it is. A police officer does not encounter, and I'm going to go on a tangent, does not encounter murderers or rapists or people that want to hurt them at every stop. They do, and they have a very dangerous job.
Yeah, they do encounter people.
Police are handling people at their worst moments, at when they need help the most.
Yeah.
Correctional officers, if you've never walked down a street, because there are streets in the big prisons, surrounded, going to the dining room, the prisoner's dining room or PDR, surrounded by a large group of men or women, but in my case, men, and knowing that if I got hurt, not one person was going to come and help me except my fellow correctional officers, whether they liked me or not, whether I liked them or not.
Yeah.
It's a whole other level. So they are law enforcement. I walked streets in the prison. I don't carry a gun. Are you crazy? If I'm surrounded by people, if I have a gun, they have a gun.
Yeah, they're going to take it from you. That's one of the things that not a lot of people, realize about how the prisons are set up. The only people with weapons are in the tower.
And you have some pepper spray and yourself. And the men and women that work in prisons and jails are law enforcement, and their job is serious and dangerous, and they keep the ones that are dangerous off of the streets so you can be home safe.
Yeah.
We met at Indiana State Prison. Yeah. My mom worked at Indiana State Prison, but we met, and the first time I met him, I thought, he has this laugh, and anyone who knows him that's watching knows a laugh when you ask him something that he thinks is ridiculous. He does this cackle laugh. And I asked him if he was married because he was brand new. I was trying to make conversation. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. We were working nights, and I asked him if he was married, and he let out this laugh, and I went, okay, well, I'm going to go in the back, and if any females come up that I need to search, because we were in the front, let me know, but oh my goodness, this dude is intense, and I'm not dealing with it at 4 o'clock in the morning. Then, about a year later, I was in a post that I had never been. I was in the hospital, and it's crazy in the hospital. So anyone that's watching works at ISP and works in the hospital, I applaud you, because during the day it's nuts. People going in, out, doctors, nurses, inmates. We have multiple doors, and it was one of those days where nothing was going right and everything was going wrong, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had never worked there before. And I was hungry because it was lunchtime. And I see this officer walking in, and I'm like, oh, it's my relief. I can go eat food. I'm so hungry. And it was him, and he wasn't laughing insanely anymore. And he was on days, and I was on days, so we weren't sleep deprived. And we started working in the dining room, and we went to go see Batman, the one with Heath Ledger, the only one that matters. And I was like, he's nice, and he doesn't want anything from me. And then, like, months later, I'm like, oh, we're a couple. So we met and Ralph said, in handcuffs. Yeah, you have handcuffs too, sorry. But, I mean, when you're surrounded by them, if it's a day that's before privatization happened and they made really good food, if it was fried chicken or hamburgers or anything that was normal food you would eat on the street, and french fries and cake, it's popular. And one day, I think we were both in it, there was a mistake, and a bunch of extra guys ended up coming in.
Yeah, it was this massive swarm. We're like, what the heck is going on?
A gate got opened that shouldn't have gotten opened, and it was just a miscommunication. It happens. They were running out of food, and most of these guys had already eaten, but you want some more? And I'm sitting there going,
especially on fried chicken.
Yeah, this might be one of the times where I'm worried if I come home. So that's what I'm saying. You don't know that, correctional officers are law enforcement. If you don't know, now you know. Don't let anyone tell you that they're not, because they are. And even if they're former correctional officers, don't ask for stories, because you don't want to hear them. But they've probably seen some things and know some things and always are forever changed from it. Just like police officers know some things, seen some things, and are forever changed from it. But
many people don't know this, but correctional officers actually have a very, very high instance of PTSD as compared to other law enforcement professions and other professions in general. Correctional officers also have a very high suicide rate. There's a lot of information about that out there. I'm not gonna dwell on that, but a lot of times people don't realize how outnumbered correctional officers are. There were times when it was 50 or more to 1. Like if you worked in a dorm, how many were there?
Like 200. A dorm is like a big building.
Yeah.
Okay. When you think of prisons, you think of cells. Now at ISP, at least when we were there, it's been
it's
a
been
while.
years, but
they were all single person cells except for one cell house. But they were doors and bars and they were cells. And a dorm is based on an honor system, so they have something called cubicles, and they really are cubicles. It's like a 4-foot high wall, and it's U-shaped, and that's where they live. But there's nothing. They roam around on their side because you have one side and another side, interacting. It was for the well-behaved, the best of the best, because they're together all the time. So if you had to go in and do a count, which is you had to make sure everyone was there every so often, your officer that you're with, there were 2, maybe 3, but usually 2 on nights, 2 during the day, you might have had more. And they lock that door, and then it's you and all those guys.
Yeah.
And I was so lucky that in the years that I was there, I worked with great people. I was never attacked. I was never hurt. I worked with Ralph, who's watching. So I worked with Ralph. I worked with Daryl. I worked with some really, really, really great people. And that makes all the difference. Yeah. And I was very lucky that I was usually there right before or right after. So I saw usually the before, and then sometimes, and there's one incident I'm not gonna discuss. Yeah. I was there right after, and the right after was not good.
Bad enough.
But I didn't get hurt. I didn't get, because I tried to treat everyone the same.
One thing that went a really long way for me working at Indiana State Prison is firm, fair, and consistent, right? Treat everyone firmly. You can't be, constantly changing your mind. Be fair, right? And be consistent. If you treat everyone the same, you're good. You're golden. It's when you get those officers that treat this person differently, either because of their crime, because of the color of their skin, because of the way that they act, anything at all. If you treat someone differently, you open yourself up to a lot of criticism and a lot of negative emotions from these guys. Think about it. These guys have nothing but time to sit there and stew over a perceived slight, right? He didn't let me out because this, or he didn't do this because this.
Or it's because they just got that news that there was a death in their family, kids even.
Yeah.
And as a parent, I cannot even imagine being told your child died. I'm sorry, you can't go to the funeral.
Yeah.
You get a free call home, and then you go right back to yourself.
Yeah.
Or your mom died.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or your appeal was denied. And here, officer comes, and it's just the first face that they see.
Yeah.
So what I learned,
and in their mind, you're responsible for them being there right now.
Yeah. What I learned is, and when you deal with 1,200 guys, because they were all male offenders, the way you approach one is not the way you approach another. And you can carry that into your real life, which I think a lot of correctional officers do. They know that you're going to have to switch up the approach, because even a person on the street, you don't know what that person, that you see at Walmart or Target or whatever is going through.
Yeah.
So the way you talk to one person is not going to be the way you talk to another. And you also learn that you need to have a thick skin. And you learn that what people say about you, it's like, don't feed the trolls. What people say about you is their business. I like to have a RuPaul quote: what other people think of you is none of your business, because it's not. You have to have a thick skin. And that carries over. So I know he gets elected, he wins the general, he goes to Washington. And with me, oh, your husband's this, your husband's that. Well, as long as the people that you know and you care about their opinion, know you and love you and support you, who cares? Yeah. Who cares what anyone else thinks about you?
Yeah. Michael has.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, the professional licensing. I have a huge problem with that. Yeah, so thank you for asking. I understand emergency situations call for emergency, modern problems call for modern solutions. And I think that if you are dealing with like nurses and doctors, they need to be educated. I have a problem with the governor saying, oh, medical students can just go ahead and they just need to be under the supervision of a doctor. Well, that doctor's going to be busy. That med student may not be ready just because you learned everything that says in the book. Training world is different than real world. Are they ready? I don't know. And to just put that responsibility of watching 2, 3, 4 med students with a doctor who has the responsibility of taking care of a sick person for whatever they're sick for, that's a problem. But professional licensing, it's a
slippery slope.
Like, if I go get my hair done, I want someone who's been to school, who knows how to color my hair, bleach my hair, tone my hair, whatever I want. But I also know that there are some people who have never been to beauty school that can do the same thing and better. And I think that if you're going to leave professional licensing undone, then you need to let the person know so they can make a choice. Hey, this person is professionally licensed as a cosmetologist, as a CNA. They've been through it, whatever. Or this person hasn't. And my only experience I could use is a cosmetology. You're going to deal with someone who hasn't been licensed or someone who has, and I can make the choice who I want to go to. Yeah. So I think in an emergency, sometimes we have to let some things go, not everything. So it's really a tricky, slippery slope. So I hope I didn't double talk or not answer the question, but it's really hard because if it hits, like they say it's going to hit hard in the next 2 weeks. Trump said the next 2 weeks, which I'm giving it, is going to be the 2 weeks that it's all going to go. And if that's the case, I know I talked my hands left. If that's the case, then I want people who can help, who can be there. Yeah.
On the other hand, a lot of times professional licensing, especially for certain jobs, it's just a way for the government to collect money. That's realistically all it is. I'm not saying all by any stretch of the imagination, but there are many areas where a license is required where I don't see the need for it. So his next question is, since 1983 and 1985, suits don't make a difference, and prosecutors refuse to hold government officials to the law when they violate citizens' rights. What would you do to strengthen citizens' ability to hold them accountable criminally?
I was actually watching the Facebook Live of another Republican candidate, and he got asked that question. Why do we go to jail for insider trading? But those people who sold off all their stocks before the crash, which that's insider trading, they don't get anything. Right. They get fired. And I think it's because they're making their own rules. Yep. They're regulating themselves. They don't feel like, and Biden said this, when the union worker came up to him, the one he said he was going to hit and take away his AR-14. Yeah. When he said, you work for us, and he said, no, I don't. That's the problem. Too many have forgotten that they work for us. Yep. We are our president's boss. We are our senator's boss. If you don't like them, just like the dollar is your voice when you go shopping. Yeah. Like, I'll never go to Hobby Lobby again. That's my dollar and my voice.
Hi, Kate.
Is that Kate?
It is.
Oh, hi. Your vote is your voice. And
Yeah.
if someone's doing something and you feel it's unethical and wrong, kick them out of office.
Yeah, but more importantly than that, there are these laws into place that they've put in place that they can't be held criminally responsible for certain things, just like they're allowed to do insider trading. That needs to go. All that stuff needs to go. They should be held to exactly the same laws that the regular Americans are held to, and in many instances, much, much higher standards. They should get away with far less than you and I, being regular people, can get away with. I think it should be a lot more oversight. We need to take these prosecutors to task. If they are not prosecuting, then there needs to be oversight. And that's what the Department of Justice, and especially the Attorney General, I believe, really needs to be focused on, is these government officials and that are getting away with things, and the prosecutors should have to do something about it. I agree with you, Michael, that there needs to be accountability in our government. We have these
same insurance, Rob. So the insurance that they get, we read it.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything more magical and wonderful in my life, and it's the kind of insurance that the normal person could only dream of. They should my sister's right. They should always be held to a higher standard.
Yeah, they should.
Sister's right again. But why do they get that magical insurance that's good anywhere in the country at any hospital? And is the black, what is the black MasterCard? That's like the one that, all the famous people get and everyone wants.
Yeah.
Why do they get that? Why do they get that? Why don't they get good insurance? I think everyone, if you are paying for your insurance, you should have good insurance. I gave up my insurance. I do not have insurance. I'm not on Medicaid. I made that choice for me.
And I don't think you should have to pay a fine for that either.
I pay I'm about to start paying a whole lot of money for health insurance. But if you're going to say, you get this health insurance, but I get this one, you don't get approved for IVF, but we do.
Right.
I have PCOS. There's a lot of things that insurance doesn't cover because they say, oh, it is elective. It's cosmetic. Yeah. It's cosmetic to want to go through the treatments you want instead of doing what we say. But if they have PCOS, they're getting every treatment, everything under the sun. That's wrong. They should have insurance. And it should be equal to what you want everyone else to have.
Yeah, I mean, there are many examples of Congress being held to a lower standard than the American public. They get paid good money. And let's face it, 170, before you get on committees, before you get on any of this stuff, your base salary is $174,000 a year. By any metric, that's good money. That's good money. It's not enough to end up, a multi-millionaire within, a couple of years.
If you don't have those stock tips, I don't see how you're making millions and millions of dollars. But Michael asked a question, and I read it, and I think I understand it. And if I didn't, or if I answer wrong, let me know. He's talking about what's the difference between privacy of a citizen in the public lobby of an FSA office versus videoing them walking from a public sidewalk. Public is public. No one has an expectation of privacy in public. Here's the only thing I can think. What I do, so when someone applies for Medicaid for their person, what I do is I handle waivers, and there's a multitude of waivers out there. The one I handle is for developmental disability, intellectual and developmental disability, autism, cerebral palsy, things like that. And it ranges in age. My client list ranges in age from 14 months.
14 months, yeah.
My oldest, he's a guy who just turned 80, just had his 80th birthday. They have to apply for Medicaid. They have to go through the whole entire process of applying for a waiver, which can take a couple years. before they come and see me. They have to pick my company has to pick me to go do their intake and be their case manager, and the family decides to stay with me. The actual Medicaid office, the FSSA office, where you go to apply for food stamps for Medicaid, that's like the first start. The only thing I can think of is HIPAA. Maybe you're right. Public is public. There's a beads office in Gary where I'm pretty sure videotaping is not allowed. It's not an FSSA office though. The only thing I think of is confidentiality. I would be upset, and I would not want recorded if I was with my child. That's just the mom in me and the aunts in me, and public is public. I think it's just a lot of people don't want to be seen going into that office, even if they need help because of pride. So by the official rule, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is to protect for HIPAA. So I hope I answered that. If I didn't, let me know. And is professional licensing the government's job? I think it's yes and no. I want the government to be as small as possible, but I also want to make sure that if someone's going for a licensing and they're taking a test that should be done by someone who knows what they're about to do. Cosmetologist, doctor, nurse, things like that. So I hope I answered your question. If I didn't, let me know.
I think I answered. Michael had asked, okay, so what would you do to hold them accountable? I think I answered that. There should definitely be oversight for if anyone isn't doing their job, then they should be held to account, whether it's a congressman, a doctor, a fireman. Let's make sure that these people are actually doing their jobs. And in many cases, these people that are going to Washington are not. They're not doing their jobs. They're not representing their constituents. They're not working for anyone but themselves. And I don't see how it's possible legally for these people to end up worth tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on these salaries. If someone is violating your rights, Michael, then they should absolutely be prosecuted for that. Sean asks, should members of Congress be banned from owning stocks? I don't know. My jump reaction, my gut reaction is yes, absolutely. But again, it leads down a slippery slope. I don't own any stock. I don't have any secret bank accounts anywhere. So it wouldn't affect me. Excuse me. But just like any other job, because let's face it, going to Congress is a job. Just like any other job, should the job you have prohibit you from preparing for retirement, 401k? Now, I do believe that there should be a public oversight of these the stock that they own and their families. A lot of times these congressmen and women will put things in their family member's name in order so that there's no audit and they don't get found out. We see this a lot with some of the dirtier politicians. They'll have their brother own something or their cousin or whatever. Okay. I got it. You don't know what you're doing.
Michael said public is public, confidential should be done behind closed doors. That's kind of what I think. I would just be concerned about videotaping children in the lobby, especially if it is an office where they're going to be applying for a waiver or benefits like that. I think there should be like an across the board ban on videotaping kids in public unless they're yours.
Yeah, should be like an automatic.
Yeah, I don't. If I saw, when my kids were littler, or even now, some dude just or some lady just videotaping my kids,
I'd have an issue with that.
Yeah. So, and I mean, public is public. Just I guess over 18 would be my thing.
Yeah.
Why should they get insurance?
Yeah, why should Congress get health insurance? An elected position is a service you do for your community, not a job. Okay.
I think if your job can give you health insurance, they should.
Yeah.
And Congress can't.
Now, one thing I will say is that Congress, who was so quick to want so-called, ACA or Obamacare or call it whatever you want, uh, they were quick to want it, right, for everybody else, but they didn't want it for them. When offered, hey, would you like to have this? Hell no, right? They didn't want any part of that. So why would you want it for us? That's kind of my issue with people in Congress is it's what's good for you isn't good for good for thee but not for me mentality, and I have a serious problem with that. I keep bumping this.
Don't shut the door. My dad said term limits.
Yeah, definitely in favor of term limits. We need. I'm a little. I'll be honest. I'm a little iffy about where to draw that line at. Some people have said 2 terms for the House. That's 4 years. Is that long enough? Let's face it, though, like any other job, because going to Congress is a job. Like any other job, there are benefits. There should be benefits. My issue is when those benefits are not made public, like the behind the scenes, deals that they make, the stock options that they're given. I don't have a problem with them having health insurance. I have a problem with them having better health insurance than the rest of the country. That's what I have a problem with.
If you don't like what they're doing, vote them out. Support, whether it's money, and we talked about it earlier. Right now, money it's nice, but we would much rather have the people who want to see him elected not give money that they can't afford. Right now, it's tough for everyone. So always, especially in primaries, get the name out, talk about your candidate, talk about who you want to be elected and why, and share the message. But if your person is not doing a good job, vote them out. Work with their opposition. Work with the person that is running against them. Get full force behind them. Vote them out. There's no reason why you should tolerate the same garbage. There is a person in a group that I'm in on Facebook who will talk about, well, this is horrible, this is horrible, this is horrible, and everything he's saying is horrible. It happens to be done by a Democrat. So, well, are you going to vote for their opponent? No, I'm going to vote Democrat. Well, why? Well, because I'm a Democrat. Well, if the person that's running isn't doing a good job, why would you keep voting for them? And people just do it because, I guess, out of habit.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
vote them out, vote them out, vote them out, vote them out.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's done, out of habit or because they grew up being told, this party is for this and this party is for that. It's very, very clear now to me, just to break it down to its base level, the Democratic, whatever you want to call it, party wants more government. They want the government to run everything. The Republican Party wants less government. We believe in the right of the individual, and government infringes on that right. A couple of comments here to go back to. Jamie said they can afford to pay for their own insurance. Yeah, absolutely. There should be, and for what it's worth, I do want to clarify: the plan isn't free. There are charges for it, but it's very low. It's very low.
Pay more.
Sean
Michael said the children. Yeah.
I'll get to that in just a second. Sean said, but not everyone in Congress is rich. You're right, and that's the thing is the way it's set up, right? Congress and the Senate was initially designed for regular, ordinary Americans to go represent their district and then come home, right? It was never intended to be career. It was never intended for these people to go to Washington and never stop. Make them buy a private plan like us or go without insurance. I think there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with insurance, but why are they able to have better insurance than us? That's the problem. Okay, so Michael says, but the children, come on, they are not naked and no one is thinking sexually. When you say that, but the children, then you start to restrict freedom that's not yours to restrict. Let me be clear on what I meant when I kind of agreed with that. Videotaping someone interacting in public isn't against the law, right? public, as in a park or walking down the street or stuff like that. It's all about the poor children. Dress them all in black loose clothing and cover their faces, or leave them at home and close the blinds. Here's what I mean as far as the videotaping of the children. I mean, I would have a problem if I saw someone sitting there specifically focusing on my child taking a video, right? That would really set off the creep alarm bells, right? But if somebody's just videotaping, I get it. We're being recorded every day. Here's what it comes down to, and what she's trying to say is whenever you go into an office, you're going to have certain protocols and certain laws that you have to follow, especially when that office deals with things that are related to HIPAA regulations, because a lot of times they're talking about private information that's
date of birth, social security, even
right.
that's HIPAA. And let's be real, sometimes people have loud mouths and they don't keep business behind closed doors. I think they're not the only government entity that says no recording. Like courthouses, you can't record in, and public is public. It's one of those situations where there's not a right answer. If a caseworker who's working with a family behind closed doors comes out, maybe they're going to continue that conversation. They shouldn't, but maybe they will. Maybe it's just one of those cases of the government saying, because I said so, and it's not fair.
Right. Michael mentioned it's creepy. Yeah. It's creepy and suspicious, but suspicious isn't a crime. I agree. Sure. I agree. I'm not saying that, I would go over and smash them across the head, but I would definitely be paying attention to what they're doing and trying to figure out why. And I would definitely keep an eye on them. No, just videotaping a child or a person in public isn't a crime. But again, what's the motive? A motive goes to a lot of things, just like, you have to prove motive in certain crimes, right? Look at the whole Hillary Clinton and the servers, right? No motive. She was just dumb. She wasn't, negligent, that whole FBI garbage. I'm not saying that I would vote to restrict anyone's rights, because I wouldn't vote to, eliminate the ability to videotape stuff, because that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. We gave our rights up on that a long time ago. Our government is recording us all the time. Our phones are tracking us. Our phones are listening to us. People are willingly bringing microphones for the government into their homes.
My question, and Michael can answer this in the comments, why videotape in FSSA? Maybe that's the part I'm not understanding, so I can understand where the questions come from and what I might be missing. Are we just why? So that's, I guess, my question. Why?
Yeah.
So all this has been politics. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the politics person. I'm
right.
just the opinionated person.
Yeah, she no shortage of opinions on tons of subjects. I can't get her to shut up even if I wanted to. Yeah, she's always been very, very vocal. Anyone who knows her.
By vocal people. I come from a vocal family. You know this. You knew this about us.
Yeah, I knew. I knew before I signed up for this. Yeah.
So, so I don't know why, but public is public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Look, they should take people into private areas in order to do private business. But they don't. Yeah, okay. He's asking if that's, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know what that means, but the person who asked me, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So, hold on, let's see I think we got, okay.
Oh,
okay. Michael said, because I have the First Amendment right to do so. Flexing rights we have to flex. I think it's flexing rights we have to flex. Okay. It's using rights we have to keep our government accountable.
Okay. You don't really get much government at the FSSA office, the caseworkers input the information, and then the big bad government tells them. And usually people don't get that information until weeks later. I think a lot of it is, for me, there are people that go there when they are at their absolute lowest. I want to say a lot more people feel that way going in than don't, or at least they should. I did. I was a single mom for 6 years before I met him. Going into the FSSA office was never fun, never a good time. You were either afraid that you did something wrong, or, oh my gosh, I'm here and I can't feed myself and my kid. I can't afford health insurance. I don't have a job. It's never a fun feeling. And me personally, if I had someone recording me, it would bother me, because I'm already, man, you're recording me. I'm already at my lowest, and now you just want to videotape me and mock me.
Right.
I think it's more of a decency thing. Yeah. Why recording doesn't happen? Just because it's not a fun place. It's not a happy place. No. It's a place where a lot of people are told, you succeeded and you made more money this 2 weeks.
Hold on, here's the thing, and Paul said it. They are still public servants. We citizens have a right to record. I agree. I've said before, I'm not against recording. The government records us, so why can't we record them? I understand.
Recording people maybe at their lowest isn't the nicest.
Yeah, many times when people go into FSSA, it's because they've exhausted other options. Mm-hmm. They are looking for assistance. And I don't think he's talking about the people there having a problem with it. I think he's talking about the agency.
But
right?
You're not really going to see much recording people walking in and out of the lobby. Everything happens behind closed doors and by mail. You're going to see who works there, but really that's about it. So I guess I don't really have anything new to add to that.
Yeah. Michael said accountability without transparency is without a backbone. I agree. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I've really tried to do is be as transparent as possible. I share all my surveys. I don't send any of these surveys out to these organizations asking what my views are without telling you guys where I stand. I believe what I believe, but it just comes down to my belief in the Constitution as the law of the land. We have certain inalienable rights. The Bill of Rights don't grant us rights; they protect them. That's just the way it is, and I think that we need to keep that. Number one, if it just comes down to the government has the right, whether we like it or not, they utilize all the time. Everything's recorded, right? They record us. All of them have CCTV. All of them have security cameras. They record us going in and doing this and doing that. So why can't we have access to this? Here's the thing is, I actually think that brings up a fair point, because why shouldn't we be able to see what our elected representatives are doing all the time? Not, FSSA isn't elected, but like congressional members and our mayor and stuff like that, they have access to our feeds. For example, the government does, the NSA, they're tracking us. Why shouldn't we? You messed my hair up before this. My little bit of hair up here. It's and a little poof. We have, thanks, appreciate that. They have access to everything we do. So let's see, that's in public. Reading here a little bit. Paul.
I know, they go so fast.
I know, right? Accountability, that's where Michael's coming from. Not at CP office, unfortunately. Much is done pretty open space. Yeah, I agree.
And Michael, I am so glad that you go to Mayor Pete's office and say, what are you doing for your people? I think that's great. I think mayors, I wish more mayors were available and were more transparent and public.
About Pete this moment.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Pete. Well, him
Not
too.
Mayor Pete. I think he's.
But I wish, like, especially now, I feel like no one gets a straight answer about what's going on, and no one is coordinated, and there needs to be transparency, and people need to talk to, whether it is a mayor or a congressman. Hey, people of my area, here's what's going on, and here's how I'm stepping up, and here's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's so limited.
But don't take photos of it just to show that you're doing something. That's one part of your job, but two, to help, because charity for a photo op is not charity. It's a photo op that's being taken at the expense of a situation. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah, you said no Visclosky.
Okay, Visclosky. Visclosky should absolutely be telling his people, here's what I've done for you this session, this month, this year. And that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, and Michael had said that was simply an example. Any government office is fair game as far as I'm concerned. I filmed Pete's office a year ago while asking questions about what they do at that office for the community. And that's a great question. That's a great question. What is it here that you really do, right? I can tell you that the people there are responsible for accepting calls, the ones that call the office to say he should or shouldn't vote for a certain thing. And then also, hey, Social Security, for example, disability, SSI, I am still on hold for this. It's been X amount of time. They're not doing anything. Can you do anything? That's part of the job of a representative. Now, the people working in that office are the ones that are responsible for that. They actually do make stuff happen. I have a lot of respect for the people who actually work for the congressman, a lot of times more than the congressmen and women themselves. They're the ones that are actually making things happen, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad, but it is what it is.
Wow, we're at an hour and a half already.
I know, right?
That's a long time. We can talk a lot.
I know.
Paul mentioned someone, so he knew who I was talking about. I just think that we can all help in different ways right now.
Yeah, we have different ways of helping.
He's been blessed to have an office that is supposed to be helping right now. He's supposed to be getting food. I'm going to go on my little, this is a wife rant, so this is not political.
It's not me.
It's not him. This message is not endorsed by Dan for Congress. He's been doing this for 16 years, and he is supposed to be doing this in a time of need. He is supposed to be helping people. That's what the trustee does, and God bless him for being a trustee. But do not use your office to say, oh, look at all the good I'm doing. That's what your office is for. And then have someone photographing you and putting it up saying, look what he's doing, look what he's doing. Either
it annoys her.
It does. Either take photos or do it. Don't do both. It annoys me to have politicians that want to charge people for their time. During the primary, you should be giving your time to people. You should be available. You should be answering phone calls. You should be answering Facebooks. Regardless, if you have a job now, but you don't have time for what you're running for, wow, are you going to have time in Washington, D.C.? Are you going to have time when you're running both your regional office and in D.C.? If you don't have time now, when are you going to have time? So, and I'm talking on both sides. Both sides of the political party.
She's not picking on any one party or candidate at this point.
I don't think you should be yelling at people in your ads, yelling at people in videos. I don't think you should be using your office as photo op. Also knowing that you're the only one out of most of the candidates that can actually get out and do stuff. Because of your office. And I think that you should be answering people if you're running for office. And that's the end of the message that's endorsed by Liz, wife of Deanne Burkers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, your phone's about to die.
It is.
Yeah.
So.
Listen, we're gonna wrap this up really soon. It's been an hour and 40 minutes almost. Got time for a few more last minute questions if anybody has any.
Political, favorite color, favorite food.
Yeah, any regular questions that you might have. I think we'll do this again. See, you're a lot more comfortable, aren't you?
Hey. Yeah.
Good. See, it's not as bad as you thought.
I don't know. On one camera, it looked good. On the other, it's like, oh, but
I mean,
yeah. Um, some people have said, "Oh, does your wife support you?" Yes, I do.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, she's behind me 100%. I wouldn't do
yeah.
this without her support. So,
the kids are behind. One of the things that one candidate got asked, and I haven't really seen his answer yet, is how do you get the youth involved? I have a 17-year-old. He's going to be 18 in June. Oh my goodness. You get them involved by talking to them, and you don't downplay them because they're 17, 18.
Yeah, don't talk down
19, 20.
to young voters. They pick up on it. They're smart. I'm smart.
And their world is very different than ours. But Gen Z, as for all their faults, because right now they seem to be wanting to party when they need to be home. But anyway, they are a unique generation where they are conservative in value, and they want that almost baby boomer type of value where they want the job and they're willing to pay their dues. Like my dad always told me growing up, you got to pay your dues before you get anywhere. You don't just jump into a $150,000 a year job. Like I paid my dues so long. I just got a new car last year. I was 38 and I finally got a new car because I paid my dues for it. They're willing to do that. So don't downplay Gen Z because they're young, because the young ones are the future ones. So incorporate them, get them involved, whether it be like running social media or talking to other young people, but get them involved. Their vote counts. Let them be, they're a huge population. Let them be part of this and just talk to them. I think we were raised, you don't talk about politics or religion, which is why no one can talk about it because they just yell at each other. Just talk to them. Oh, my dad says time for ice cream. Bye. Is it? Oh, yeah. It's 8:30. Okay.
Yeah,
it's time for ice cream. Yeah. So that's my dad saying.
Yeah. Okay. We're like I said, we'll wrap this up. We will do this again. Hold on. I just grabbed the last one. Michael asked, will you deny your insurance and pay if elected since you stand for lower spending? Look, dude, I'm going to tell you straight out. Number one, there is no way my wife would allow me to say no to that insurance. Not going to happen.
Kids. Yeah. I think a lot of people were parents first.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. There is absolutely no way that I could afford to go back and forth to Washington to devote 100% time to representing the people of the district without getting paid.
That doesn't mean that you can't have people, I'm sure there are, that can fight for it to change. And I would encourage him to do that. But when you got kids, you got to have insurance.
Yeah. Now look,
they're kids.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. I'm just telling you flat out. The other thing is, I am wholeheartedly in favor of lower spending, but me not getting a salary for being a congressman and not getting insurance it's not going to do anything for the budget. However, I am wholeheartedly in favor of reducing how much we spend as a country, of balancing the budget. I'm in favor of Rand Paul's pennies plan. I'm in favor of the balanced budget amendment to bring it in line over time. We have to do things.
There's also, most people don't realize, and I didn't know, that I want to say, and I could be wrong, the first 3 months that they're in office, so January, February, March. I haven't been able to find how regularly they get paid. But they don't get a paycheck for the first few months.
Yeah, it's the way it's set up. I'm not sure.
It's hard on first termers. It is. We'll be living on, for the first 3 months, my salary. So I'm not going to lie when I say his first paycheck will be like, yay. But I think when you get people elected who know it needs to change, then it can change. You keep people in office who know it needs to change but don't want it to change, so they're not going to do anything. It's never going to change. Right. So you get people in who want to change it and know it needs to change, and that's how it changes. Right.
They said, do you believe you could get endorsements from Rand and Ron Paul? I don't know. I've reached out. I haven't heard anything from anybody else.
I like Rand. I like Rand.
Oh, they get paid quarterly. Okay.
Well, yay, thank you, Michael.
That's why it's a few months. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. It's almost 9 o'clock.
I got to go have ice cream. That's what my dad says.
We got to get ice cream and get some dinner.
I'll just throw them frozen fish.
Right. There you go. Toss some raw meat towards me. That'll be all right.
I gotta
So,
feed them.
yeah.
Even the 17-year-old, like,
Right. So I appreciate everybody coming out and joining us. Thank you for spending your evening with us. We will definitely be doing this again. She sees it's not that bad. So I will be here tomorrow night. I don't know if she'll be. Would we be doing this tomorrow night?
See, I finally,
Thursday night.
it's been 3 weeks and I had to put on makeup, so I feel like a normal person.
Right.
Tomorrow's, I don't know. I might be working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. She's not sure yet. She's not sure.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, it'll be a surprise. But I will be here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. So again, thanks for coming out and talk to you all soon. God bless you and God